imagine what is going to occur because public criticize them at the end of the day. Or for example, even when it comes to gay coming out, for example, those individuals will receive a severe criticism from, possibly severe criticism from society. That's why people are not able to come out because the existence of the moral standards are something that is arbitrary. That's why, no thank you, that currently challenging the conventional framework of the morality is something that's impossible on their side, which is irrelevant on whether or not the discourse will occur, but we tell you that the actual practice is going to be killed, no thank you, under their side of the house. We suggest that the society we are going to look like under our side is that people are able to engage with the vigorous innovations that they are able to come up with. Before that, closing.
So cell phones, smartphones, condemning, it took time, but was rising because it was ultimately convenient. Why is that bit of procrastination, which is the conclusion of the argument, more important than we brought to you, Cosco?
So your argument is relevant. I already proved in my first comparative analysis, and also my partner is going to provide a critical refutation to your case. How society looks like and why we have to prefer for this world to come. Because we tell you that the individual, society looks like under their side, are people who are constantly supervising the actions of others through TVs or through internet medias and whatnot. No, thank you. So therefore, that people are looking at them, doubting whether or not these individuals are going to conduct certain morally wrong things in the first place. The society they are talking about is something that is already happening in dictatorship, that people are constantly supervising each other. What society looks like is their acceptance and tolerance toward certain immoral things. Because the context of today's debate, or relevant character of today's debate, is that those are not a crime in itself, because crimes are already punished in the first place, and therefore people will not have a frustration overall. That's why those individuals, not the crime, but as a conventional, the ambiguous standard, are not going to be challenged under their side of the house. But we are able to guarantee the activities, the vigorous activities under their side. People are able to freely engage what they want. The thing that really changed the society is not a discourse that the entire team in this day has been talking about. We tell you the real practice is important for the vigorous activity in changing the society. That's why we oppose.
Thank you, member of the opposition, for your remarks. Next, we would like to invite the government with Keita Kurita.
Two points of clarification. Number one, we think that the entire opposition bench has entirely missed the comparative in this debate. Because this debate is not about the court of opinion as they exist in the worst form imaginable versus hypothetical courts that can do anything under their side of the house. This debate is a comparative between an active court of public opinion and courts as they exist in reality, right? We think that therefore their side of the house has to prove to us why the problems that they raise can be solved with the current judicial systems that are obviously stacked against the average citizen under the status quo, which was never responded by their side of the house, and why their problems still occur in an active court of public opinion, which I'll extend more in my speech. Second of all, nowhere in this motion does it say that we're only supposed to talk about celebrities, right? Their side of the house trying to make our arguments irrelevant by saying that they're not really core to the motion or something like that. But we think that the arguments we brought to you are the most important in terms of the impact that they have on society, and that's what we say we extend upon most strongly. That's why we say you should vote for closing government at the end of my speech. I have two questions in my speech. Number one, do their problems that they raise on the other side of the house really exist under an active court of public opinion? Second of all, do alternatives that they present really function sufficiently in order to administer justice. Before that, one point of erroneous rebuttal that doesn't quite fit in. So closing opposition basically told us that having criticism stifles innovation. Obviously, this is clearly untrue, right? The reason we can have better products is because we have criticism towards the products that we have on the status quo, which incentivizes people to make those products better, right? The fact that we still have the Apple Watch, even though it was so criticized, signifies the fact that innovation exists with or without criticism under their side of the house. So basically this extension dies in this debate. First question, do the problems exist in the active court of public opinion? Because what they told us is that a court of public opinion is essentially one-sided because people actively use it as a vent for anger or because it is easier to criticize people. What they never recognized is that this was never a reason to disprove the existence of a counter-narrative. We agree, sure there's going to be a lot of criticism, but they never told us why the alternative or the criticism towards that criticism cannot occur in an active court of public opinion, right? Because the world we support is a world in which people like us actually stood up on Twitter and defended Becky instead of being silent, right? That's what an active court of public opinion looks like, that they never really defended under their side of the house. Second of all, they told us that, we don't think that there's any a priori reason that certain things are correct or wrong, right? They assume that just because it's written in a law, it's necessarily correct and should not be challenged. We don't think that that's true, right? We think that, as insofar as they say, that the consequences of the discourse are uncertain and arbitrary, that's all the more reason for us to have a discussion of a society. Because there's no absolute reason why certain things are right or wrong, and that's why we need to have a discussion in order to determine what is right or wrong. In an active court of public opinion, we can include the entire society. We can have all people discussing about what's right or wrong, and we think that's the best and fairest way to decide, rather than have random judges decide under their side of the house, which are clearly not as ideal as they thought. Sure.
Okay, your burden is to be, is not to say the active court of opinion, which is hypothetical is good, but your burden is to say that active court of opinion does exist in the majority of circumstances, in contrast to the public court of opinion we characterize. Engage with us.
First of all, I don't really think it says anything in the motion that says we're supposed to defend the status quo, because we don't. But even if we were, we already told you in extension that we think that society is gradually learning that excessive bashing is bad, right? So we think that in future, realistic courts of public opinion, we can expect a more moderate, way in which to discuss, right? We're gradually learning about the ways in which we use social networking services. So even if you were to push that burden upon us, we think that that's something that we can fulfill. We think that's something that can change under our side of the house. We don't really think that the burden is reasonable anyway, right? So let's move on to the second question about the comparison with the alternative, which was something that was never really dealt with in the opening half of this debate. Because what they never recognized is that courts and alternatives are not necessarily accountable, right? They're not necessarily accountable to the public opinion that is important or the lives of citizens, right? Because what they're accountable are things like money. They're accountable to things like corruption within the system, which often is stacked against the average citizens or minorities under their side of the house. What they told us is, look, large corporations can buy up media anyway. That is all the more reason for a more active court of public opinion that tries to actively find out all injustices that are occurring, that tries to criticize all the more, right? We're not saying that we're going to have absolutely no human rights abuses under our side of the house, but we're being comparative, obviously, right? We're saying that we have a higher possibility of being able to deal with these human rights abuses and expose them under our side of the house. We don't really think that large corporations or large media is the only source of reporting about these sort of things. Social networking services used by NGOs can oftentimes expose human rights abuses that are occurring in developing countries. For example, we don't really think that their large corporation media is also corrupt argument wins their side of the case. What did they tell us? They told us that discourse exists anyway, right? We don't really think this is really something that they can defend under their side of the house. Because what they have to consider is what discourse looks like under their side of the house. What they never recognize is that a court of public opinion is a necessary side effect of active discourse that is critical towards certain things. You can never have discourse and without a court of public opinion unless you strip that discourse of every single form of active criticism, right? The only way we can have an active discourse in the form that we need to challenge, for example, large corporations, to challenge powerful powers, is to be able to be critical, is to be able to administer judgments within that sphere, right? That's something that never occurs on the other side of the house. Because people can discuss on the other side, but they say, well, I think that this thing might not be bad, but I have no right to make a judgment, right? That's what happens on the other side of the house. We never have the traction, we never have the energy that's necessary to tackle the human rights abuses. We don't think that their side of the house can handle. We don't think their side of the house can help the most helpless people in society that need to be saved from the injustices that their side administers, right? So even if we were to take them at their best, all they protect is like a few public figures from criticism to a certain extent, which we don't know the extent to which it actually changes anyway, because oftentimes people might even take justice into their hands. The exclusive benefit that we provide to you, the exclusive impact that's important in this debate is our ability to hold large corporations, to hold rich people to account. And that's something that we can exclusively provide to you and go on court of public opinion. We think that those things are far more important than the next Apple Watch, or having Becky be on TV more when she's already recovering, when she's thinking she can't recover from those harms, whereas children who suffer from human rights abuses can never recover, right? We don't think that there's really a comparative in their side of the house, and that's what we say that their side, even if we take all of their harms, cannot trump the extension that we gain from closing government. For all those reasons, we're very proud to oppose.
Thank you, Government Whip, for your remarks. Next, we'd like to invite a petition with Shin Eto from Nakanishi.
So this debate is about which society is preferable, which society is good, which society is bad. The premise we have to debate is what kind of society is good and what kind of society is bad. That was the clear analysis that was lacking among all teams at Spectacles and Option. We prefer a world where everyone can activate their activity. We prefer a world that actually the states preserve the universal concept of bodily autonomy regardless of how the society interprets that, as long as that is not the crime. That is the world we support, that is the world we think is good, and that's the unique contribution we provide you from ourselves. Because all the other teams are focusing on individuals or ambiguous discourse, which does not directly connect to the definition of good society or bad society as well. We think that's a unique contribution we bring to you from our side of the house. I'm going to basically talk about two things in my speech. Number one, the consequence of the discourse or argumentation comes from the Prime Minister opening government, closing government, and number two, in terms of defining the morality or those kind of things, which side is better. All my rebuttals will integrate into my speech, so on to my first issue about the consequence of discourse. Yes?
So given our comparative measure never responded by opposition, there is a clear distinction between discourse generated by court of public opinion or opening government cannot immediately change society and cannot never change society at all. Given your premise or extension, if discourse cannot change society, why your premise really coherent?
Thank you. I'll like to answer that in my argumentation. So, on to the first issue about the discourse of those kind of things. So, Deputy Prime Minister told us that discourse creates good citizens or better citizens. But the question in this debate we have to answer is what is better citizen or what is good citizen at the very beginning? Because the model we support from the status quo is a legislative court or legislative system that actually already punishes people that's actually based on the consent of the society and the democratic society that is bad at the very beginning. It doesn't necessarily, we don't see that kind of world is good at the very beginning. No, it seems immoral, but the concept of morality should be decided within the legislature, not the emotional action made by the individuals, but based on certain types of activities or certain sensational sway by the media at the very beginning. That's the nuance they misunderstand. Now, secondly, they talk about how it will be much more discourse is good without explaining who is going to participate in the discourse on what kind of motivation. This kind of analysis was further extended by the closing government, giving us there's a certain types of loopholes existing in the current society within the law framework, all those kind of things. But what's lacking here is what kind of consequence of the discourse they were actually preferring at the very beginning. So I'd like to engage that in the content. That then moves on to the second issue. So we heard an example of Nike's child abuse or BP's oil spill. That kind of thing is already a crime, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen. Those kind of things are already punished. It's an irrelevant case in this debate. But secondly, more importantly, even if there are sometimes a loophole of laws, yes, we concede to that to a certain extent. But this kind of
measurement of the solving does not necessarily go well, because the participant of these kind of discourse is people who actually are swayed by the media, which is actually diluted by the majority, which, for example, people with money, or the kind of media corporations, or those kind of things. These kind of people prioritize the superficial problem-solving method rather than attacking the root cause of the crime, root cause of the injustices at the very beginning. Please take the example of drunk driving. The superficial conclusion is, for example, increasing the signals in izakaya, increasing signals in roads for you not to actually do these kind of not to do drunk driving. But they actually never ever tackle the concept of the how destroy the culture of the drunk driving. That kind of thing could not be tackled on the proposition side. We support the model. For example, people actually standing up and demonstration, or people standing up and actually collecting or donating money to do certain types of political activity. But since the society looks that problem is already superficially solved, it actually destroys the grassroots movement and actually makes it difficult for the society to actually participate, to tackle that kind of social injustice, because it seems it's superficially solved under the paradigm of the proposition. People prioritize quick wins rather than actually tackling the root cause. That's the characterization of the discourse. So even if the discourse happens on the proposition side, then it doesn't tackle the root cause at the very beginning. So we don't think that the oil spill may be actually relevant to this motion, never ever thought. But certainly more importantly, they're actually completely ignoring the opposite case. They're trying to tackle big corporations. They're trying to say that they're trying to make big corporations a bad actor, but simply the opposite exists as well. They actually completely neglect the possibility that these kind of minority people is going to be excluded from society at the very beginning. It's vice versa. You can't, given that it's the argumentation of the closing government is actually not inherent to the motion and actually at the beginning. That's a splendid rebuttal my partner indicated in his speech. So, what have we watched from our side? We told you that the society looks like, we are the ones that actually only illustrated how the society looks like after we take this plan. We told you that the action that people is motivated is not through discussion, but we have to respect the individual's bodily autonomy because we think that activity is the much more important thing. My partner told you decent level analysis, how it creates a chilling effect simply because individuals live in a society where they actually compare themselves to other people. They say that's good, that's bad. They try to chill, actually not take activities that may be deemed to be in the society to actually look like. That is why, for example, many female university students always wear same kinds of clothes or those kind of, because they don't want to feel the sense of exclusion of society. No, thank you. So what we heard from that side of the house, is only engagement like this. Criticism brings good products and brings good innovation, all that kind of thing. Yes, we concede to that, but that is not the motion, because we support criticism to good product. For example, this product is bad in this sense, this product is good in this sense. We should do that to actually maybe collaborating these two products will make a good newer product or those. But we are particularly opposing, and what the proposition side have to defend is that what particularly bashing or punishing in a socially punishing these kind of individuals brings a good outcome to society at the very. We preserve a society in which everyone can actually challenge whatever they want to do, and the consequence of that brings an innovative society at the very beginning. Because we do not know where the next innovation comes from. From 10 years before, we do not have the concept of SNS or those kind of things. But now we can appreciate that because everyone was actually able to take whatever action they was taking, as long as that was not kind of thing was actually not punished, not recognized or crime. What we brought you from our side of the house is extremely simple. We are the ones that only illustrated what is the definition of good society and how we can achieve that in our side of the house. We're immensely proud to oppose.